So it's the last panel, so we will try to keep it very interactive and energetic. And let's start meeting better the participants to this panel. And so the question is, if you can share with the audience which specific problem your company or you are tackling and focusing on.
Hi everyone. I'm building Chaos Chain. So with Chaos Chain, we are trying to tackle accountability of the agentic economy that's upcoming. And through our triple verified stack, we provide end-to-end verifiability. We are tackling that problem where we can have agents run in secure environment, also have verifiability for the claims that agents make, tagging that with the accountability for them.
Hey, I'm Aleks. I'm with Olas. Olas is the platform for true co-ownership of AI, enabling users to own and monetize their AI agents. We're very excited about the new standards coming on-chain, let's say. X402 and 8004 are very related to what we do. And yeah, excited for the space in general.
Yeah, Shafu from Merit Systems. We've built x402 Scan, which is basically Etherscan, but for the x402 ecosystem. So you can see all the x402 transactions, all the resources, all the facilitators, and analytics and statistics on all of them.
Hi, my name is Levi. I'm the founder and CEO of Arkhai. So regarding agentic payments, we've built a sophisticated escrow and arbitration system where you can basically unlock escrow based on the outcome of a Boolean algebraic expression, which allows you to coordinate or make really, really kinds of complex deals, and we recursively arbitrate them and so on. And then we have, of course, integrations with x402 and 8004, so we complement them really closely.
Hey everybody, my name is Matt. I'm one of the co-founders and the CTO of a company called Pinata. For those of you that don't know what we do, we build on top of this standard called IPFS. For those of you that don't know what that is, basically we solve the problem if you need to work with more data than can fit on chain. That's where IPFS comes in. It's kind of the gold standard for how you do that, verifiable, distributed, decentralized, all that good stuff. Where this fits into ERC-8004, a lot of the identity registrations, proofs, reputation, validation, too big to fit on chain when you want to add more data. So we're excited about that. We're also building with x402, where we can buy and sell data using some of the new stuff we've been building as well. So really excited kind of the intersection points where all this stuff is hitting.
So I will start with like a more personal question, because many of you are entrepreneurs or founders, and I was as well before selling my last company. And we said the agents are not ready. We are like pioneering a space with not a lot of users yet. And on one hand, this is very good because we are first mover. We could be in a great position when in the right moment. On the other hand, you have you see like ChatGPT with 800 million monthly active users. And so what's the balance between also in your motivation and finding like an equilibrium between getting results from users and be forward-looking in putting the roots of what comes next? What's your thought? What's give you like energy, motivation in this like very exciting moment? It really feels like we are like at the. I wasn't there at the beginning of the 90s. I was like but everything that I've read, it really feels the same. How do you see this?
Yeah, maybe I can pick this up. I'm excited about two things. The first thing is x402 has the potential to kill ads on the internet. Ads were the only reliable way to monetize the internet before x402. I think this could change completely. You paid with your reputation in the past, now you just pay with your wallet, which is fantastic. The second thing is, I think x402 uniquely enables what a lot of people call agentic commerce. It's basically an agent roams around the internet, hits a lot of APIs, most of them are free, but once you hit like a paywall, x402 comes in and the agent just pays for it and gets that data. So killing ads and agentic commerce.
Can I add a little bit?
Sure.
From the 8004 perspective, for example, we're super excited that there is an immersion, the standard immersion for across EVMs at least, and other chain possible, that the community requires that in a sense that everybody's seeing the potential, and I can just speak from some of the numbers. Like we've been building the registry for AI agents in the marketplace since 2022 or 23, and for example, a little bit more than 2,500 agents have done more than 11 or close to 12 million transactions and 9 million agent-to-agent interactions, and you could not imagine this happening between just like regular users, right? Agents are here, they're taking over, they're going to be more advanced, more sophisticated, they're going to do, like, when people, you've seen those phrases happening on X right now with like trillions, that's when we're talking about the number of transactions happening between agents.
Can I go? Yeah. Okay. So what excites us is like the future, of course. We want to be in we want to live in this autonomous future where like we have digital autonomy for sure, and then also like physical autonomy, right? So with Chaos Chain, like we are first like focused to going towards this digital autonomy. So like of course like OpenAI and Anthropic like are building amazing foundational models and stuff like that. But then agents enable, of course like they enable a new UI for us, for users, and what we want from them is like just to understand our intents, right? With having as minimal input from us as possible. So this is a new UI. And then agents, like the client agent on our phone, for example, understanding our intents and then going to a server agent and then getting the work done and delivering this service in an autonomous way. So that's what we are trying to build. And we want to incentivize builders to, of course, like keep building better and better agents. Like LLMs are like really great, right? Even the previous year's models are quite good. They have a lot of potential, but we need a way for agents to extract that potential out of it. So for that, we are building Chaos Chain's accountability protocol and like basically a feedback mechanism through that, which we call proof of agency, so that like, we can incentivize agents to show more and more agency, and that way have more builders contribute.
How much is B2C versus B2B? Just B2B, or in your view? So did you try like to convince a final user of like needing a verifiable inference for something?
So like, yeah, we are kind of like exploring both directions, I would say. So with B2B, for example, like we are looking into, actually through payments, like we are looking into tokenizing future sales contract for coal, for example, and then for copper. And then where like a business, me as a business, I want to buy copper, and then I have to pay like my 10 million is going to get locked, for example, for the copper that I will receive after 6 months. And then like we are exploring a payment studio. So in Chaos Chain, we have something that we call studio, which are basically context containers. And each studio is niche specific. So we will have a studio specific for B2B problems and also like for B2C. So an example for B2C would be, of course, a CAP studio, which would be great for our client agent to understand, have access to our calendar and understand like where do we have to be. And
so regarding the question that you originally posed, I think that there's a few issues. One, I think the main issue for consumers is safety. You know, we have no idea whether, especially if we're talking about LLM-based agents, and especially if we're talking about non-deterministic LLMs, although that problem is being solved to a large degree. I think Thinking Machines kind of came up with like a solution like a month ago or so. But basically, it's hard to trust these agents to actually go out and be your agent in like the principal agent problem sense, right? It's hard to trust that agent to actually do exactly what you want it to do. And until we actually get to that point, I don't think we're going to see mass adoption. Like we have not yet seen the ChatGPT moment for commerce agents acting on people's behalves, right? Now, and how are people trying to solve this problem? Because that's an interesting question, right? People are trying to solve this problem by putting guardrails on the agents, right? Oh, you can only spend so much money. Oh, there's going to be a cap here. Or there's going to be all these set of rules. but there's actually very little focus on putting guardrails on the marketplace itself. What actually are you allowed to buy and under what circumstances? How do you actually define what is allowed to be purchased, from whom, at what times, and so on? And these are, if you can make imbue these programmatic rules into the marketplace itself, I think you can create markets which are would be able to be trusted much more quickly, right? So like on our end, for example, like we're making modular marketplace primitives so you can make any marketplace you want from basic building blocks. And our first initial target markets are compute. Is compute, for example. We're targeting a few others, but our first is compute. Why? Everything there is completely empirical, right? It's completely measurable. You know how much CPU, how much RAM, this Docker container, that location, etc. Everything's completely measurable. So you're not dealing with the really messy world of LLMs. And so I think that there's going to be somewhat of like a branch, like a fork. There's going to be a set of applications. There's going to be people continuing to try to build LLM-based agents that go out and purchase things on people's behalves, and all the guardrails and so on associated with that. And then there's going to be people building specific types of marketplaces where you'll be able to trust the agents much more because there's just built-in guardrails that aren't even related to the agent.
Yeah, if I can add to that, I think in general we have what I like to call a reputation problem. It's not only for agents, also for x402 resources. Our approach to solve that on x402 scan, because we have a lot of data, all of the x402 requests go through our proxy. So the way we try to solve is basically give like a reputation score for every resource. So this is like uptime, number of transactions, volume. Did you was it successful? If it wasn't, why wasn't it successful? And just imagine like every resource having like a reputation score. So once you're like in the agentic commerce context, it's like you tell your agent, just use resources that have a reputation score of 8 out of 10. Currently, it's very objective because you could have like a resource that has an uptime of 100%, but it just returns garbage, right? So the question is how do you check for that too?
And I think just come real quick, coming on to like the integration, the relation to ERC-8004. And I think there was initially, I don't know what the current state of it is, but I think initially there was the conversation about, okay, do you want global reputation or local reputation, right? Like, do you want the global reputation score? I've personally always leaned a lot more towards local reputation scores, as in every agent has a ranking over the other agents and their reputations, because they might have their own metrics for what's valuable and what's not.
Mm. Reputation is always a multidimensional local problem, and it's the only way to make it work. And yes, what Shafu was saying on x402, we're very just at the beginning. There are like so many dimensions you could add to payments. Let's get back to the title of the panel. So we are talking about standards, but at least in my view, when we talk about when will, I don't know, x402 intermediate billions every hour, or when the number of IPFS resource pinned every hour will be billions and billions. So what we have in the middle, I think there are like 4 things that matter. Standards could be one. Second is the quality of the models, for sure. Third could be like regulation. Another one could be the culture of people. Humans, like, they don't change their behavior, consumer behavior in one day. I don't know if you feel that there is some missing tech, but maybe tech is within model. So among these 4, in your personal view, which are the most relevant? What's the order that you would?
Can you repeat what are the 4 options?
Standards, regulation, culture of people, and oh my God, what was the last one?
No, I think it's the standard. Like
the models, sorry, the models, which is what has moved the needle in the last year, clearly.
I think it's the standard. Like, what I love about x402 is that the standard is very, very thin. It's basically, this is a response type, this is a request type, and that's basically it. You can put custom logic inside your server, all of that, but the spec is very simple, and I think that's very good for adoption.
I think ultimately, just like humans do, agents will probably build their own models of trust. There's probably 1,000 different S3 providers out there on the internet, right? People kind of gravitate towards the ones that have proven themselves over time. I I guess this might be a little contrarian. I think the more you codify like trust systems, the easier they are to game. I know, Marco, we've talked a little bit about that on like the ERC-8004 side of things. It's like Sybil attacks and whatnot. I feel just naturally over time, people are going to gravitate towards whatever system of trust works best for them, whether it's their culture, their company, whatever. That'll just kind of be where people gravitate towards.
So which one do you see as blockers for having like 1 billion IPFS resources pinned every hour? What should happen that is unlocking this, in your opinion?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
What should be done to unlock a world where we have like billions of IPFS resources every hour? So what will be the driver that will, like, in your opinion, push adoption? Is more standards or regulation or better models of people that use different services? Because if we identify like our recipe to move a needle, we can really impress and accelerate.
Yeah, I mean, I think in this context here, are you referring to like the IPFS records as like reviews,
yes,
validations?
As used by agents, of course. But
yes, yeah. So I think back to like, like Amazon reviews, right? I don't know if you guys, whenever you go to Amazon, you kind of like judge it. It's like, okay, it has a 5-star review, but there's like 40 of them, right? Okay, little sketch. Maybe there's one that's like 16,000 purchases, 4.5 stars. Okay, that's a little bit better. I think just over time, naturally, people will leave reviews as they use things, just to indicate how it went. And then over time, maybe some people like to say, oh, this person, I trust them. They've given good reviews before this. We have modern influencers, right? I think just letting people freely, and not just people, but people and agents freely leave reviews in kind of an unstructured format, you'll eventually see proliferation of trust, kind of depending on how people have earned it, and different trust models will appear over time. I know there's standardized ones in 8004, like the base facilitator has kind of done their own system where they're scanning things. I know, Shafu, you guys have kind of done similar things with x402 scan. I think a ton of different systems will kind of choose their own way of verifying and building trust. And then agents and users will figure out which ones work best for them.
Exactly what Matt just said, doing the David Savdokat of 8004 itself. So we are talking about trust models. We are in a world where we are just used to like trust brands. And if they misbehave, we just change supplier. This is like how the centralized the current work. And so I'd like to briefly hear the opinion of all of you. All these hardware security mechanisms or validators that stake billion to check. Don't you see a possible world where we just continue to take things easy and like to not ask verification in any sense, and clients will just move from one supplier to another, in this case from one agent to another, if they don't like their agent?
I think there are two users here. One is human and another is agent, right? So for humans, for us, like we have our own world model and we have our own way of like figuring out which is the best service. We ask our friends, we search on internet, we look at ratings, so on and so forth. But what about agents? How are they going to, what's their world model? And that's what great thing about 804. It enables, of course, this reputation system. And that that's quite powerful, right? And reputation system is tagged with the identity of the agent. So this allows agents to, of course, discover each other and then kind of start making friends, start finding collaborators, and so on and so forth. So if now for agents to kind of find other agents who are reliable and all that, this should be built into their reputation system. Now, through the triple verified stack in Chaosian, we have one stack which we call process integrity. So that's where we, for example, we have integrated the eigen compute. We provide the verifiability of the agent logic. So that's the internal mechanics, right? So that becomes part of the part of the verifiability. Second is the agent outputs. So agent is coming up with different strategies. So we need to have a verifiability and accountability for that also. So this together is relevant for building.
I really like this. What you're saying is that humans will maybe continue to be rational as we are good to be, while agents will make decision on more structure. Aleks, what do you think?
I think in traditional human world, we actually can't trust that much each other in the sense that, okay, somebody wrote a review for the product, and maybe that person was in a bad mood, or I don't know, they didn't understand how really the product works. So, but we don't have any means to verify whether it was true or false. We kind of have that generic way of just trusting people and comments, and probably I'm in the same mood like today. I'm in a bad mood. I'm reading like bad comments or lower ranks. Tomorrow it's the opposite. But with agents, we can do much more. And also, if we're talking about the scalability, right? Like for example, the verification registry, where there is a possibility to basically post the request for the agent being verified, and imagining that things are super decentralized and adoption has happened, right? We shouldn't hit that scale factor that much, or cluttering of basically meaningless transactions. At the same time, we can we could do more in terms of basically trying to unwrap what the agent has done, look at some pinpoints that were happening, and understand whether the reviews that were made kind of in a global sense were semi-malicious, or stuff was not understood, etc. So we have much more data here compared to the traditional marketplace.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't know what the perfect solution would be. X402 Scan, we're taking the approach, as I've described earlier, show as much data as you can possibly can. Something like the reviews are interesting, but in that case, you would need like a centralized entity that monitors these reviews, which is not perfect. So I think it's like a combination between both. It's a trade-off. Maybe there is the perfect solution out there, but I'm not aware of it yet.
I think if you look, there's been research in this field going back a few decades, and in particular about agent-to-agent interactions, and specifically around like agents modeling other agents and the behaviors of other agents. There's different like methods of that agents can do. Can use for this. So for example, they could classify the other agents into types. Like this is an honest actor, or this is a malicious actor. That's like really simple, but this is their class of strategy. That's another class of strategy. That's another class of strategy. Trying to identify what their class of strategy is. Another one is kind of like recursive understanding of like I know this about them, but they know that I know this about them, and they know this about me. And this kind of recursively, how many like layers of depth do you go down in terms of like trying to recursively model what the other agent is quote unquote thinking. And there's actually really, really interesting relationships between how agents are doing that, would do that, and also how humans actually think about it as well. There's actually, psychologists have done studies on this about like how many, like n equals, I forget what it is. It might be like 4 or 7, but like after like 4 or 7, like you think, I think that you think that I think, like it just becomes irrelevant, like it doesn't matter anymore. But it might be different for agents. And I think that if you look at traditional either control theory or reinforcement learning, the way that it primarily, let's say reinforcement learning is a bit easier, you basically just have like your history of, I was in this state, this action was taken, I got into this new state, I got this reward, etc. And that just happens, since the beginning of the life of the agent, and the agent would learn over that. And so I don't think that we as humans are even capable we are capable of it, but we wouldn't do a better job than an actual agent using like math to determine, okay, this is my understanding of the world, this is my world model, all of these events happened, and I'm just going to use like a neural network to pass all of the pass all that information through, and that neural network will determine within its internal weights what the optimal decision would be to move from like you were saying, like from one supplier to another, for example. And I think that long term, that's hard, but we're seeing, certainly reinforcement learning is super popular among even LLM agents now. That's going back since DeepSeek R1, let alone like non-LLM agents, and that's going back in history. So I think it'll probably be like a learning process that we won't necessarily even understand.
Yeah, I just don't think there's going to be a perfect answer for it. I think there's going to be a lot of different ways.
Nobody has the
What did you say?
Nobody has the answer. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, you can do reviews, you can do ratings, you can do TEEs and provable executions and all this fun stuff, but like everything's gameable to some extent.
Don't forget ZK.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, thank you. I mean, I think as long as you like codify rules into it, it's going to be gameable to some extent. So I mean, yeah, Amazon reviews, you get review bots. I think one of the nice things about where we're at right now with agents and X402 is we're kind of moving into a microtransaction world here where there's low risk, right? So if you execute one small transaction, that's probably going to cost you pennies, if not less. There's very low risk there, and you're paying continually, like as you receive service. So if something goes wrong, you can quickly move and move on to the next agent. For higher value transactions, I think things will probably move more into the traditional world of I trust this probably centralized institution because they've been around for a long time and they've probably spent a bunch of money on ads to win my business. This is the way of the world. But yeah, I mean, I think for a lot of like the agent-to-agent stuff, the low risk actually helps here where trust is less of a factor if you need just like simple tasks done.
Yeah, I think what emerged clearly from all the panelists is that these trust systems, we are building them for agents and not for humans. So we're discussing about, we are building the primitives to enable agents to trust other agents, while we expect humans to trust agents as humans now irrationally trust what we pick when we buy services or products. The last question, we change completely different angle. So one of the things I'm most like proud, excited of, or in this case 8004, is that it's a standard, it's something very technical, but what happened is that it really created a movement. So it had like a cultural impact in terms of like engagement, excitement, direction. And so maybe standards can also be a way to as a group, as a community, have a flag, as a goal, to discuss on where we are going. So the question is, first, how can we like make this movement bigger? So in terms of from a dev tooling perspective, in terms of culture. And second, which is in my talk, I was very focused on how can we like embrace the wider AI space, right? So how can we make this movement bigger, and how can we involve AI in general and not being like the silos people of Web3 and AI? Who wants to start?
Yeah, I'll take this one. I think for context, it's super early, right? Like the X402 standard defined in May, I think. We started looking at X402 like 7 weeks ago. What we found were like 50,000 transactions. Half of them were like Coinbase intake tests.
50K.
50K, yes, 50K. Then we launched X402 Scan like 6 weeks ago. 3 days after that, someone had the brilliant idea to launch an X402 meme coin on X402 Scan, and we went from 50K transactions to 2 million transactions in like 2 days. Took our site down, took the Coinbase API down, which was fun. The problem with that is it's just a worse mechanism to launch a meme coin through X402 because you have to trust the server, so that's not sticky at all. I think what we really need is native X402 resources. Like what's possible now through X402 that wasn't possible before. If we have that, then like the agentic, magic happens where the agent has like these little building blocks that it can pay and use, and I think something magical could happen. So it's like, let's build some cool and useful resources.
I would add here from the standpoint of 8004 that it's, again, the human nature of when we actually build tools, right, and create something new, we operate by standards. There was no standard before. Now we're very excited about 8004 coming on mainnets, and that's going to probably single kind of the beginning of the adoption point for all the builders. They're going to be like, aha, this is the way we're going to follow, even though if they happen to follow before. This is one thing. The second thing is that I think some of the tooling is still somewhat missing, in a sense that some people still believe that they have to actually upload the full AI agent and the infrastructure on chain. No, it doesn't happen actually. you have a very just small entry points there, or it's like NFT and the IPFS hash, which is enough, right?
So there are people that they think that they need to upload like the entire agent on chain?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, from the conversation, it's like, yeah, but how do you host your agent? Because, I mean, it's big, right? I mean, we don't have to upload all the
Many
other
users are
right?
putting like the JSON of a registration file in the URI. So in the field URI, which should be a string with a URL, they directly put the JSON. That's very common.
Right. And with some time, the adoption also comes to, with tools like Pinata, for example, that people are going to shift away from thinking that a lot of things have to happen on-chain, where on-chain actually only just synchronization points happen, and everything else can be fetched, and once again, with the help of other agents, verified if needed, processed, etc.
Sorry.
The question is, how can we like make the movement grow? Not just 8004 in general, trustless agents, x402, and if you think it's important to involve the general AI space, how can you do that?
Yeah, thanks for stating the question once again. Yeah, like a lot of these things are of course like brand new, like x402 and 8004. Like it's just like it's been just few months, and of course we need to improve the DevX to keep improving like the adoption of these standards, and then and then the standards are like minimal, so like it allows many people to of course like keep experimenting and keep building, which starts this kind of network effect, right? So the community will start growing because everyone gets a chance to experiment and build something. Now, I think like to really accelerate this movement, we have to really start thinking about the use cases, and not like crypto native use cases like trading and then DeFi related ones, but something which is more towards like Web 2 and then like in day-to-day use cases. So that's how then we can more
So
tap into
trustless Web 2 use cases.
Yes.
Okay.
So that way, like we can like start tapping into the Web 2 as well and start building for a majority of the population on this planet.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I would say that I'm going to take a quite different approach to this, which is that I think in terms of growing the movement, we should take a look. I'll give one very recent parallel, right, which is the rise of Zcash, the re-rise of Zcash, right? We all saw how Zcash kind of came back from near obscurity, and this is because people suddenly started really caring about privacy in their transactions. I think that if/when we begin to see abuses of power from any centralized authority regarding agents or agentic payments or payments in general, and we know that like there's a lot of effort going into that from centralized institutions, the riding on the wave of the backlash is what would probably, quite bluntly, grow the community as much as possible.
It's very so growth of totalitarian states could be a trigger and accelerator for trustless agents.
Yeah, when people don't even know the problem, they're not going to look for the solution, right? If everything's working perfectly fine, everyone's just going to go on their merry way as they did before. But the second something breaks, people are going to start looking for solutions.
So I don't care about confidential inference until something happens. I read it on the newspaper and I start caring about the privacy of my ChatGPT.
Yeah, something I would estimate that like probably at least 97% of at least the population in the U.S. does not know what confidential inference is, and yeah,
absolutely,
and so it's like it's just like a permeation of the ideas, people becoming more comfortable with it, and part of it is just like people need to care. I mean, people are busy, right? I mean, lives, work, health, family, relationships, friendships, etc. Without a real reason to look, they're not going to.
Yeah, I mean, I think you touched on something there, is that if there's not a problem, people typically don't solve it. I mean, you see this a lot in the space, right? It's like people are just chucking out solutions for problems that don't exist. Sorry if that's controversial. But Yeah, and then I think, so there's kind of two ways. Like, there's a problem that you need to be solved, and then also, like, I think people kind of need to find a way to turn it into a business, or else why are you doing it? In a lot of cases, there are, of course, passion projects, but I think once you get actual, like, real-world cases where people can build a business on this, or they can provide a service to the world, and get rewarded for that, that's typically where you'll see a lot of flourishing just in most industries. And then when that comes, I think one of the things I always emphasize is you just need to make it easy to work in these ecosystems, right? Easy to register your agent, easier to work with off-chain metadata, easier to, sorry, subtle shill there. Yeah, I mean, easy to spend money, x402, right? These standards are kind of helping make this adoption happen. And then the last thing on that, I'll touch on standards again there is, right now it's kind of the Wild West. Everybody's like building all these different things, which is amazing. But I do think eventually you will need to see some sort of like standardization of agentic skills that people can come in and be like, okay, I need this thing done. Okay, there is now a marketplace of agents that I can go look for to accomplish that same task, knowing that they'll all pretty much accomplish it in a similar way. Otherwise, it's just too confusing for agents and people to kind of interact in this space.
Thank you all. So I want to take the opportunity also we have talked a lot now in this panel about like product readiness and journey and growth. And it's also important like to celebrate how much, you, many in this room, many people that are meeting around the Dev Connect in Buenos Aires have done in such a limited time. So Shafu was remembering that x402 was born in May. 2004 at the end of August. So it's really amazing what, thanks to like all of you, has happened in such a limited time. There is a community, there are many prototypes, there are software, there are users already, even just even in a limited number. So let's keep on doing that. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.